today we are here because it's a special moment.
Yeah,
You've been launching this project since a long time,
yeah,
and you welcome a soft launch retreat like 2 weeks ago.
correct.
And now it's the first retreat, welcoming Yoga Flame to Botswana.
Yes.
Can you tell more? How did it started?
Yes, so very special moment for me, of course, and for the whole project. And very special as well because we're hosting Yoga Flame specifically, which is my studio back in Switzerland, in Lausanne, where I started to practice yoga. So very special moment. So first of all, thank you very much for making this happen and for being the guinea pigs for the official launch. So it's been a very intense journey, as you said. More than 2 years in the building this project and getting it to where we are today. Yeah, I'm very happy to have you guys here for this first retreat.
And how did you choose this location? Where we based?
So long story, of course, you know that this place, so Munga Plains, is located in Botswana, and it's following a trip that I did with a few friends 3 years ago now. So that was following COVID, so more than 2 years for me, which was mostly calls, online video calls as we were all doing at that moment. And it was a very important moment for me, a very transformational trip where I was really able to disconnect from that day to day, all the emails that you get on a daily basis, all the Instagram, whatever. We did 7 days of mobile safari here in Botswana, in the surroundings of this region. And it was one of the only places in the world that I had visited up until now, or up until that time, where you realize that you're completely disconnected from the rest of the world. And for that reason, the following year, I wanted to share this area with other people, and I decided to start a project and selected this location in Munga Plains.
Munga Plains.
Yes.
Is it you who brought that name, or was it already called that
Yeah.
way?
So, no, I wish I found a name, but it's I just took it essentially from it's the name of an affluent of the Chobe River that is quite famous. The Chobe River goes into the Zambezi and into the Victoria Falls, which is an important part also of the retreats that we're running here. And essentially, the flooded plains where we are at, there's an affluent which is called Munga, which comes from a language from the Basubia people, and which means to put people together.
Okay.
So that's why we use that, and the name Plains, of course, is the openness that you can't see on camera, but yeah, that we have in front of us here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I remember this morning with the zebras walking around while we were practicing. It's very special. I feel we creating such memorable memories right now that we're gonna hold all our life, and it's very precious. So
Yes.
thank you for the experience.
It was a pleasure.
And I also saw that you immerse ourselves, the group, into some cultural activities and also meet with the local community. So how is it? How to say? How is it working for you to integrate that? Is it part of the concept that you want to bring?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. So if I just go back to the concept itself, there's three main aspects, right? The first one is what I was just speaking about, is the disconnection aspect. It's what I felt when coming here by being in such a remote location. So of course, I'm from Switzerland. You can go in the mountains to disconnect, but you still have a lot of people in your surroundings. So it's going to be very difficult to find such a location where for a number of days you're in the middle of nature and you see nothing, right? Outside of the beautiful wildlife, of course, and the beauty of the space. But so that was the first aspect. It's giving this ability to disconnect. The second one is reconnecting, because once you're disconnected from your life, maybe back home, from your internet, from your Instagram, it's a question of reconnecting with people around you, like-minded people. So typically here in this situation, people that come and practice at Yoga Flame. But it's also reconnecting with local cultures and respecting that we are in a land where other people used to live, other people have different practices. So it's an important part of, for me, visiting a country, visiting a place, is being able to connect with them in a meaningful way, right? And the third part is the connection to nature and wildlife. Of course, Botswana is one of the most famous places for safaris. You have the big five across, the big five are present in the country, and Chobe National Park, where we are located, is the place where you have the highest density of elephants. So
What
very
is
famous for
the
that.
what is the what did you say? Top five?
The big five.
The big five.
Okay, so it's the big five animals. So it's the lion, the elephant, the leopard, the buffalo, and the rhino.
Wow,
So
such a diversity.
yeah, and big animals for sure.
And I guess from the outside, sometimes there can be some misunderstanding. Sometimes when people comes to safari, how do we at the end comes into preservation of this wildlife? Now I understand, but I would love you to explain a bit more. How do you feel it's contributing to the preservation?
Yeah. So of course, yeah, it's difficult to understand from, let's say, from a European country or Western country, how it is in Africa, and how do we bring in tourists without having a negative impact on potentially animals. But I think what's important to note is and see is that you take a country like Botswana that has been very much on the conservationist side. They've been able to protect their animals much better than all the surrounding countries like South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and even Namibia by enabling tourism, and especially, let's say, higher end type of tourism. Meaning that when you come to Botswana, there is, of course, there is different mechanisms such as the park fees, and there's different contributions that you are making into protecting the wildlife. So there's, of course, money that is going as a tourist towards the protection of animals, and it was well done in Botswana on their side by by making it an important aspect of also the cultural values and even what the government priorities essentially. So when you're going into in a park, of course, you are, let's say, slightly disturbing the animals, but we are always, you're working with guides that are competent, that understand wildlife, that understand how to, show the life of an animal without disturbing them. That's for sure one that is important. Also, it's very important to have, again, ensuring that the money goes back to the national parks, and it has been done better in a country like Botswana versus other countries where you have higher corruption, for example. And they've been putting in a lot of effort also in anti-poaching units to make sure that all these places are well protected and that these animals essentially are not killed for to sell their remains essentially to other countries. So by coming and viewing animals in the country, you are essentially helping the conservation, right, and the protection of the wildlife.
And to come back to the concept initially, the vision has evolved from the moment you started. You were mentioning before, and moving forward, what's the ultimate goal or vision behind this Munga Plain?
So yeah, so my goal, as I said, is, of course, with this place is we are starting at the moment, but it's to start getting more and more groups together to be able to again visit this place while again recharging your spirits and being able to practice. So that's what makes this place unique versus other places, let's say in Botswana, is specifically is the yoga shala that we have built, which is in the middle of the savannah, and the fact that we really cater for yogis and yoga retreats specifically, right? So we try to be specific in that sense. And with that, we are also able to, let's say, enable more people to come into the country. As I mentioned in the beginning, Botswana tends to be a very high-end, very luxurious type of safari. We're trying to do something which is also on the more affordable side, so to let people come through while knowing that this is still a safari and that, again, we want to have a positive impact. So it's not something that is going to be cheap, but it's something that we want to enable more people to have access to the place.
Yeah.
So of course, if it goes well, the idea would be to be able to develop the different type of camps potentially in the region. There's a number of different locations, and what is interesting when going in a country like this one is being able to stay a few days in one location and maybe then move to another one. So if we that could be future plans, and potentially also developing that in other countries of Africa, where you have the same type of concept of, again, being able to disconnect and reconnect to wildlife, community, and other people.
Yeah, by the way, some people of our group are extending
Yes.
their trip into a mobile safari.
Mm-hmm.
And can you bring some more maybe details about how is it different to stay here and go for a drive by day, or going
Yes.
into a mobile safari for a couple of days?
Yeah, exactly. So the mobile safari is usually the real experience, right? It's really going into the bush, camping in the middle of the park. It means proximity to animals. There's no fences or anything around. We're really going and camping in respect of the fact that we are within the national park. So it's really that, let's say, deeper, authentic safari experience that I would, of course, recommend to people, because it enables you essentially to see much more than potentially what you can see here only at Munga Plains. Munga Plains is what we're doing is we're giving, I think, an introduction to safari. We're enabling people to come through and to see a lot of animals, and I think you guys saw a lot already in a few days, right? Between lions, hyenas, elephants, giraffes, you name it. So there's a lot you're going to see, but the purpose of this place is also to be able to, disconnect in a quiet space and being able to practice. So we're more focused on that, more focused on the community and giving that introduction to safaris. The extension really enables you to go deeper, right? And there's many of these animals. What you need to realize is, again, there's no fences. They can cross the border. You have Namibia just there, a few kilometers away. Elephants can cross. They go wherever they want, right? So some of these animals are more difficult to see. The leopard, for example, being one of them. And you do have to spend more time on a safari, to try to find them. So it becomes that type of adventure. And I highly recommend it because that's what I really had as an experience the first time. And I think, this is really where you're disconnected from the rest. There's no network, and not any connection is available there. So it's not for the faint of heart, of course. It's more the adventure. But yeah, I do recommend it to have a full safari experience when coming here.
Wow. Yeah, so far it's been very, very nice. And thank you also for joining some yoga in the morning. Can you maintain your yoga practices while you are here in Munga?
Yeah, so I think it's starting to get better and better over the days. Of course, with the soft launch and you guys being the first retreat, there was a lot of things that we had to do to make sure the camp was up to standards and that we were prepared as much as possible to host you. So now it's getting a bit better and I can de-stress my spirit. But maybe I should have practiced a bit more before as well. Would have helped, most likely.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. So yeah, I practiced yesterday, I practiced today, hopefully tomorrow as well. But yeah, it's an important part of it. And I also, I'm not a yoga teacher myself, but it's part of one of my to-do lists for this year to also go for my own teacher training and go deeper into the practice. So
yeah, it really resonates when you were mentioning before, like to give an affordable, I would say, price or investment for people to join, because we tend to, for me, before I met you, it was something that was unreally realistic for me to go in a safari. And it's true that still nowadays we see whenever we go into the safari trip, like that the people who are joining, I mean, it's very exclusive still, and I think it's gonna remain, but to bring accessibility within consciousness, so it allow more people to join. This is also something that is part of our values, and
yeah, 100%. And I think again, the key difference between this place and others is that we focus on groups and on yoga retreats, and that enables us to also be more efficient in terms of the cost. So we're not, let's say, reducing on the quality or just providing something cheaper specifically, but we are playing on the fact that it's a group coming together to be able to deliver an experience that is a little bit less costly, right? So there's this advantage, and this is also why, for me, a safari is also an adventure. You're going to try to find animals together. There's a lot of stories to share. it makes much more sense to put a group together that, you know, might be just like-minded from the values perspective, to go on an adventure together and to see all these beautiful animals and the nature surrounding it. So it makes a lot of sense from that perspective.
And
Yeah.
by the way, talking about like being immersed with the group and go and watch animals, you were mentioning before that you were willing to put one more concept of bringing no phones. And I really like this idea. I don't know if you want to share with
Yeah. Yeah, so we call it a no camera safari, which is a bit counterintuitive, because you would think the first thing you want to do on a safari is take pictures, take photos, take videos of whatever you see. But the reality is that you see most people on safari cars looking at things behind their phones in the end. So it's, what's the point of going so far away, disconnecting, to then look at your phone instead of looking what's in front of you? So, of course, we understand everybody wants to have beautiful memories of these places. They want to be able to show their friends what they've seen. So the concept here is, instead of everybody coming with their phone and cameras and everything, is to have a photographer and videographer potentially on the different cars, so that you know, and you can be confident that whatever is you're going to see, you're going to have nice videos, nice photos of it, so that yourself, you can observe the animals and you can be in the moment and see whatever they're doing. So that's a concept that we are going to launch as well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Counterintuitive a little bit, especially if you bought a very expensive new camera, but it's something that I think also reminds us that we need to be in the moment, right? And that things are happening there. No point at looking at your phone.
Yes, 100%.
All right. But yeah, maybe just on your side as well, because I'm interested to understand what made you come to this place, come to Botswana. What was your triggering point initially when we discussed?
Yeah, so at Yoga Flame, we evolve and we launch new location-based retreats, or anything that we create or do. It's based on the synergies and organic connection that we create throughout the journey. And then we see and we assess if it's related and somehow linked to our values. And when I was hearing your story, your vision, I realized that finally it's complementary, and also it's aligned with what we are trying to achieve over time. I like to, I would say, picture yoga as the, how you say, as the showcase or the vitrine, you know, for people to come and practice, and they start to tune in with their body. And at the end, there is so much more spectrum to observe and to evolve, such as first creating a community together with like-minded people who like to be curious, who like to explore different practices. So we are not dogmatic in Yoga Flame. And then also evolving together while you are practicing on a daily basis. This is first, I would say, part of the values, and of course comes with it inclusiveness and also fair profit and all the other ranges of values. But also, I would say for the retreat more specifically, we like whenever we go to a location to make sure that the location based is well implemented in terms of being conscious about the surrounding, about the people collaborating with. This is one. We like also to unfold the schedule like day by day without mentioning much to our people who come for the retreat. Why? So they can really connect with the present moment and they can let go and just surrender, you know, to be less thinking of like, oh, what's the meal for tonight? What we gonna do tomorrow? What's this and that? But more like, hey, I'm back to the present and everything is okay the way it is. It's perfect. And there is, I would say, another part that is very holding onto those retreat concept is first, I would say 6-7 years ago, we started the first retreat more with always the intention to bring the community together. And now it's really something that we want to implement more and more and more. So creating like alumni group retreats so people can reconnect over the time. and continue to share experiences and also widen their horizon in places that wouldn't be at the first sight accessible, or yeah, grow together. And then there is also this part of continual evolution. So once they come in the retreat, they also tune in with different teachers and they can explore different practices. And also by being a bit more still and having more time to explore and being on the present moment, they can really observe what is useful for them or not. And most of the time they want to know more and go more into one practice or the other, and eventually end up doing like maybe a training or like program that can
Going
serve
deeper in.
them. Yeah, because most of the time during a daily life in the studios you just
Go in and out.
stress, yeah, and you don't have time to connect and you just want to do your kind of workout or whatever it is. And yeah, this is really the moment for them to
That's true.
escape.
And even myself, I'm typically the one that would
Yeah.
go in, go on the mats, practice, and then go out. So it's very important, I think, to be able to create that community, because we're sitting next to 30 people that are probably like-minded, and we don't speak that much, right, in general.
Yeah.
So being able, I think those retreats, this one, but the others as well, are creating that that connection between people, and I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see them connecting and taking the initiative afterwards to reconnect and gather together. And we try also to create other events along the year that are like one day event or one afternoon, a brunch after a class, so we can reconnect together and bring this aspect of community always on the table.
Great. So we're at what, day 5 right now?
Yeah, almost.
What's the highlights and lowlights?
Which low light?
I don't know.
Low light, I think it's just coming from Bali, straight from Bali, and having no sweater, no equipment for the cold and chill night.
It is cold at night.
Yeah, it's a bit cold at the moment, but it's beautiful and warm in the afternoon, so it creates the balance. But a lot of highlight for sure, like starting from the place, the people, and the food. Like the food is, I think we didn't touch on this aspect, but usually like the food is always the same in lodge because it's hard to provide. Also, we have to imagine we are in a place where you have to import and facilitate a lot of supplies here, and it's not easy. And to have proper like fresh veggies, fruit every day, and it's so tasty, and that you can also honor the cuisine, the
Local,
kitchen,
yeah,
of
local
here,
kitchens,
and make
local
a fusion.
local recipes, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, it's true. It's a key aspect for me, the food, because I like eating. But no, it's an important one for sure, especially when you're traveling.
Yeah.
My point is always trying to make sure that you can taste whatever is local. So they typically have different type of recipes, but also different types of I don't know, nuts or herbs or vegetables that you might not find back home. So being able to test that is very important. But at the same time, there's also an importance around healthy eating, right? Or I would say also sustainable eating. And even though we don't only focus on vegetarian, we do provide vegetarian, vegan options, and we try to look at products that either are, if I take vegetables, at the moment we're still taking them from some of the farms that you have in the region, but our goal is to produce our own vegetables, our own herbs, our own fruits, and we have started our garden back by the lodge, so it's an important aspect. But same thing on the meat side, right? I'm trying to buy products which are respected and not just mass production, right? So that's an important aspect. But yeah, as you mentioned, the difficulty is always getting the products to a remote location like this one. So of course, number one, it was about the construction and getting everything here, but now it's about supplying, vegetables, fruits, and all that. It can be very tricky in Botswana to get whatever we want. So yeah, but we're working with a chef who's called Edna Rosen, wrote a book called The Taste of Botswana. So she helps us design those menus that are a fusion of Western, more healthy food with local traditions and recipes. So that's probably why it was good.
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course all the nature, wildlife, the colors, the sunsets, it's incredible to see horizon and the golden hour from the sunrise to to be by the river in Chobe with like all those lines of family of elephant and giraffe and you know it becomes like almost
You get
normal
used to it.
and it's surreal at the same time, so it really feels like
Yeah, and that's
like a
what
dream.
that's what's beautiful about this location. It's still very well preserved. So you can probably see a place how it was a few thousand years ago before humans were in many of the locations around the world, right? So it's beautiful to see and appreciate. And as you mentioned, right, the fact that we are on these open plains, you really are able to see the sunrise and sunset from the start, creating those beautiful skies. So yeah, goes well.
Talking about the sky, the stars
The
also.
stars.
You can see the Milky Way. I mean,
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
something we didn't even think about before getting here, and it's like wow.
Light pollution, yeah.
Yeah.
Limited light pollution for sure. So that's part of the future plans as well, right? So also focusing on using stars, telescopes, having these type of things where there's a lot of things that we still see as being able to be part of the experience. So also good reasons for you guys to come back, you know.
Yes,
providing that.
we already have the date for 2025.
Yes.
So yeah, we will see you there.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you again for coming. And
Thank you.
it was a pleasure to have you.
Yay.
An honor to have you first as the first group.
Thank you for us too.
All right. Yes.
Boom.